Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Peeben Nee, and I'm so glad to welcome you to our Sunday service here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Long Beach. We are a thriving, multicultural Unitarian Universalist church of people of all ages who are seen, heard, and cherished. We lead with courage and humility as we transform ourselves and our world. We are rooted in love, welcome people of many paths, and act together for justice, equity, and inclusion. We welcome everyone to join in this vision as we live into our mission to nurture community, confront injustice, and center love. Welcome to those of you who are new or visiting our church this morning. We are so glad you're here. Please stop by the membership table after the service to fill out a newcomer form or scan the QR code on the order of service so we can follow up with you. And of course, welcome also to those of you joining in on Zoom and YouTube. Our services are available online anytime. Now, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices if you haven't done so. After this service, if you are watching us on Zoom, please join our Zoom coffee hour where you can chat with others in the congregation. Everyone is invited to join us for coffee and conversation on the patio, but as you may heard, BIPOC Fellowship is hosting a Juneteenth cookout at 11:30 today. Please see your order of service, our weekly e-news, and monthly advance to check out everything happening at UUCLB. And now for some announcements. Darlene? There.
Hi, I'm Darlene Martin, And Ramon asked that I share with everybody some updates on the garden. This is a very busy time of year, as you can imagine. The LA Food Bank is happy with the garden, and we've got it all set up that their Long Beach area they'll be coming and picking up produce on Wednesdays in the afternoon. And they also help with the students at Cal State Long Beach. So we were hoping that we could kind of close that gap. We have a special request. Some critters have been invading the garden, and rats or mice to be specific. And we need some materials to kind of scare them away. And if there are any old Halloween costumes or something that we could make a scarecrow out of, that's kind of Ramon's request at this point, something that will flutter in the breeze and hopefully scare them away. But we're trying what we can to keep it all organic, and it is staying organic, and the critters are enjoying the feast. And also we're starting something new. There is a barrel near the compost heaps at the far end, and if you do not take care of your own compost at your house, and if you don't have a need for it for your garden, kitchen waste could be used at our garden here, and that would be vegetable, fruit, coffee ground type waste. No fats, no animal products, and it's a enclosed regular trash can, and all we will say is that if you drop something off, that you put the lid back on so critters don't get in, because they like the compost too. So I'll be around a little bit after service, and if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer. Okay. A big deal. We're going to dig up potatoes next Sunday. So if you've been around before, that's a family event, and families will get to take home a bag of fresh potatoes. Okay.
Good morning and welcome, church, on this very special day. This is Juneteenth celebration from the BIPOC. I'm here to do the chalice lighting. We light this chalice in remembrance and in hope, remembering our Black and African enslaved ancestors, while also celebrating the emancipation of all enslaved people in the United States on June 19, 1865. We light this flame for the strength of community and the power of resilience. May this light not only remind us of the faith our past has taught us, but guide us as we resist injustice. Advocate for those who may not have the same privileges or power, and love one another, no matter what comes our way.
In 1865, Union General Gordon Granger was given command of the area around Galveston, Texas. He was charged with bringing the state under federal control. On June 19th, he began his tenure by issuing 5 general orders, the most famous of which is General Order Number 3. This is General Order Number 3. The people are informed that in accordance with proclamations from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. The freed are advised to remain at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, and that they will not be supported in idleness either there or elsewhere.
Me again. I'm going to be reading 2 slave narrative excerpts. The first one, Georgina Gibbs, a former slave, tells an interviewer from Virginia Writers Project in 1937 about her life as a slave, including descriptions of clothing, food, marriage practices, and folk beliefs. This interview, along with other Virginia Writers Project interviews, offers a composite portrait of interviewees, self-styled personal stories. Interviewers interested lived experience and editing choices, as well as their social relations and expectations, shape their relationship and conversation with the interviewees. Although the interviewers aren't unmediated autobiographies, they are no less authentic and are just as fruitful a source for reconstructing historical experience. Miss Georgina Gibbs, an ex-slave, resides at 707 Lindsay Avenue, Portsmouth, Virginia. The old lady marveled at the great change that had been made in the clothing, habits, and living conditions of the Negro since she was a child. She described the clothing of the slaves in a calm manner. All of the clothes during slavery time was made of the loom. My master had 3 slaves who worked in the loom house. After the cloth was made, master sent it over town to a white woman who made his in clothes. We had to knit our own stockings and gloves. We plait blades of wheat to make us bonnets. We had to wear wooden bottom shoes. There won't no stores, so we growed everything we need and made everything we'd wear. We had a washing house. This was 5 women who done the washing and ironing. They had to make the soap. That was done by letting water drip over oak ashes. This made oak ash lye, and this was used to making soap. After the clothes had soaked in the lye soap and water, they put these clothes on tables and beat them till they was white. Master give us huts to live in. The beds was made of long boards that was nailed to the wall. The mattress was stuffed with straw and pine tags. The only light we had was from the fireplace. We didn't use no matches. Instead, we'd stick a rock on a piece of steel. We'd let the sparks fall on some cotton. My master had about 500 slaves. He'd never sell none of his slaves, but he'd always buy more. That keeps the slaves from marrying in their families. When you're married, you had to jump over a broom 3 times. That was the license. If master seen 2 slaves together too much, he would marry them. It didn't make no difference if you weren't but 14 years old. Work began at sunrise and lasts till sundown. When I was 8 years old, I started working in the field with 2 paddles to keep the crows from eating the crops. The next one is from London Farrell. London Farrell is now commencing the 65th year of his age and was born on the Forks of Hanover, just opposite the birthplace of the Hun. Henry Clay. He was owned by Mrs. Ann Wilson, his mother belonging to that lady's brother, Richard Farrell, who came from England, and shortly after his arrival died and left all of his estate to his sister, Mrs. Ann Winston. His mistress named him London Farrell after her brother, and at her death, her large estate was divided among her children when he was sold for $600 to Colonel Samuel Overton, a bachelor, thus separated from his mother at 8 or 9 years of age. But the kindness of his owner buoyed him up, and childlike, he felt but little and wanted of a kind mother. At the age of 7, quite a romantic little incident occurred. While Farrell Price and our hero were bathing in the river by which they were both thrown into the water, clinched together, and but for the timely assistance of a washerwoman, they would have both met their watery graves. They had sunk twice when the woman, espying them, rushed into the water. Supporting herself by the limb of a tree, caught one of them by the hair of the head, and thus drew them ashore, where, reclining their heads down the sopping bank, the water had an opportunity to escape. And thus, in a few minutes, they were restored to consciousness. After recovering, he was severely punished and strict orders given him to keep away from the river. A few days after this occurrence, the two met and had some conversation in regard to their fate. Had they been drowned, and both were of opinion that they would have gone to the lake of fire and brimstone. And they converted together that henceforth they would serve their God alone. The escape from death had an important influence on them conduct in afterlife. After this, he was bound to Edmund Daly to learn the house joinery business, and during his apprenticeship, he felt that his sins were pardoned, that God loved him and would keep him from temptation. He then wished to ascertain how far the other party to the covenant had preserved in his religious career. But alas, for human nature, he had forgotten his promise and yet remained a sinner out of the fold of God. And when Pharaoh talked to him on the subject, tears coursed down his cheeks, and but a few weeks elapsed before he and his wife were buried with Christ in baptism. He sent for him to witness the ceremony, and at the same time, Pharaoh related his religious experience to Reverend Abbason Walter and was himself baptized, which important event occurred when he was 20 years old. After his baptism, he felt himself called to preach the gospel, but was disobedient to the heavenly order. Shortly after this, he attended a prayer meeting where the new converts, elders, and members were assembled. After singing and praying for some time, he was called on to sing. With many misgivings and palpitating heart, he rose, requested an elder if he should make a mistake to correct him, and proceed to sing. Alas, and did my Savior bleed, and did my sovereign die? After singing, he was called on to pray, and the first thing he knew, after kneeling down, he was standing up, relating his religious experience, and felt the love of God shed abroad in his heart as much as when he was first converted. He heard no sound, but in his soul he felt that the command bound him to go and preach the gospel to every creature, and he said, "Thy will be done." The whole house was one sea of commotion, and all seemed rejoicing in the Lord, shaking hands and evincing by their every look the presence of the Spirit of grace shed abroad in their hearts. He attended 2 more meetings of a similar character, and at the last one, he hid himself away in the corner, as he had some suspicion that they wished to exalt him to some position, which perhaps he could not fill with honor to himself, and what was and is far from more important, with honor to his God. When all the others had finished singing and praying, an inquiry was made if he was in the house. When he was brought out from his place of concealment and told to sing, pray, exhort, or preach, or whatever the Spirit of the Lord prompted him to do, and this scripture came into his mind, "I can do all things, the Lord helping me." He spoke from these words about 25 minutes. Then the meeting was dismissed. They told him to remain after the congregation had retired. They placed a chair, and he sat down in it, and they propounded various questions which were answered satisfactorily. They then put their hands on his head and prayed God's blessing upon him in all afterlife. After this, they arose from their knees and gave him the right hand of fellowship and said, "We give you up to go and preach the gospel wherever the Lord may cast your lot, and the doors open for you." Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'd like to encourage everyone to sing along with hymn 104. If you choose to stand, please do. If you choose not to, please sit back and sing along. When Israel is in Egypt's land, let my people go. Oppressed so hard they could not stand, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. The Lord told Moses what to do. Let my people go. to lead the tribe of Israel through. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Israel land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. For you the cloud shall clear the way. Let my people go. A fire by night, a shade by day. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. We need not always weep and moan. Let my people go. And where these slavery chains for long, let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. Let my people go.
On Juneteenth, published in 2020, is the latest work of nonfiction by American legal historian and law professor Annette Gordon-Reed. In a series of essays, she gives us some context around the time of Juneteenth, including how it had affected her family, and she discusses the development of present-day Texas, particularly through the significance of Juneteenth. As Elmer mentioned earlier, General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston on June 19, 1865, to take command of all the troops in the American Army in Texas. The Civil War had been over since April that year. However, the Confederate soldiers in Texas continued fighting into May and were victorious in the last battle, the Battle of Palmetto Ranch. When it became clear that other Confederate armies had collapsed, their soldiers deserted in large numbers. Confederate General Kirby Smith surrendered in Galveston on June 2, 1865. Angry Confederate soldiers lashed out after their defeat. They rioted and looted. Meanwhile, some African Americans in Galveston already knew the gist of the general order prior to June 19th. 2 days before General Granger arrived, black men working on the wharves were shouting in excitement. The whites in Texas were angry, and some reacted violently, whipping the newly freed enslaved people for celebrating. All over the South, but in Texas particularly, whites unleashed a torrent of violence against the freed men and women, and sometimes the white people who supported them, and this lasted for years. The author explains that General Order Number 3 was so shocking to white Texans because it explicitly stated that black people were equal to their white counterparts. Like other Confederate states, Texas had rejected this idea of equality as the language of both Texas's Constitution and the Cornerstone speech indicate. General Order Number 3 altered their reality. It seemed that there was stronger resistance to General Order Number 3 in Texas than anywhere else. Gordon-Reed suggests that it is Texas's final victory in the Civil War, as well as their history as an independent nation, that contributed to white Texans' insolence and resistance in the face of the General Order Number 3 and Reconstruction.
Okay. We are going to share some foods with you throughout to explain where they came from and how we celebrate with what we eat. So the first dish is black-eyed peas, made by me today. What you see in this bowl today is one of the oldest stories on this table, and it begins with the single word, freedom. Black-eyed peas did not begin in the American South. They came from West Africa, carried across the Atlantic in the hands and memories of people who were stolen from their homes. On the plantations where they were forced to labor, enslaved people were given these peas as rations. Food considered too plain, too common for the tables of those who enslaved them. But something remarkable happened. Enslaved people planted these peas in the small garden pots, and they were sometimes permitted, or plots, that they were sometimes permitted. They tended them. They saved the seeds. They fed their families with them. A food given as a minimum became something they owned, something they passed down. When freedom finally came to Texas on June 19, 1865, the formerly enslaved began cooking. And among the first things that went into the pot were black-eyed peas, not because they had no choice, but because they chose them, because they were home, because what had fed them through bondage would now feed them through freedom. The dish is not about what was taken. It is about what was kept. Every time black-eyed peas appear on a Juneteenth table, they are a quiet declaration. We carried these seeds across centuries, and we are still here. That is what freedom looks like when it comes home to the table. Next, we will have our offering. Our Sunday offering helps to sustain our congregation along generous pledges and contributions of our members and friends. As the plates go by today, take a moment to offer gratitude for all the amazing work for justice and care happening here, the collections being made, and the lives changed. Thank you for your generous offer. UCLB is supported by generous pledges and contributions of our members and friends. As a reminder, our fiscal year is ending June 30th, and we encourage you to fulfill any outstanding pledge commitments. Each month, we select a community-based organization to be the recipient of our social justice collection. Our social justice collection this month is dedicated to Days Long Beach. For more than 50 years, Days Long Beach has supported low-income, underserved families in Long Beach. They support achievement by providing children and families with opportunities to develop skills, apply concepts they have learned, and build positive relationships. Through free educational programming and youth development activities, they continue to be a mainstay in the community. Days programs focus on the youth education, support leadership and academic success, and community engagement. Through a holistic approach to helping youth and families in Long Beach, Days Long Beach provides critical support to members of our community to help build future success. 2 examples of programs are the Summer Days free 6-week day camp and an after-school program during the school year. We thank you for your generous offerings, pledges, and contributions, and our offering will now be received to benefit Days Long Beach.
I was born by the river in a little tent. But oh, just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living. I'm afraid need to die. See, I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know that a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. See, I go to my brother. I said, brother, help me, please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. There were times when I thought I wouldn't last for long, but now I know I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know that a change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will.
What does it mean that enslaved people were given freedom after the Civil War? What were they given? The Reconstruction Amendments recognized the freed people as full American citizens with theoretical access to the same rights enjoyed by whites. During the Reconstruction era that followed the Civil War, the newly freed people actively engaged in civic life. They established schools and churches. They were elected to public office where they began to reshape governance. Black communities with enhanced educational and social opportunities were formed. The end of federal oversight of regional politics in the late 1870s saw southern states try to restrict the new freedom. States enacted Jim Crow laws to enforce racial segregation and voter suppression laws. Organizations like the Ku Klux Klan, KKK, came into being to force racial hierarchy. African Americans and allies responded to these with activism, legal challenges, and local organizing. Starting in the 1950s, activism became organized in groups like the Congress for Racial Equality, or CORE, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, and others that also have letter-type names. Since freedom was given in 1865, the methods for resisting oppression have continued to evolve. Communications have advanced from horseback message delivery to printed media to electronic communication. An oppressive action this morning, like an ICE raid, would be met by protests by noon using methods centuries in the makings. Resistance is not futile.
There's a word for what happened with cornbread, and the word is resilience. Corn was a staple grain given to enslaved people on most plantations. It was cheap, it was calorie dense, and it was not considered worthy of the main house table. Enslaved people received cornmeal as a ration, sometimes little else. What they did with it is nothing short of extraordinary. From that simple ration came hoe cakes cooked on the blades of a field hoe over an open fire, came Johnny cakes, came skillet bread with a crackling crust that no European recipe had ever imagined. Came 100 variations shaped by memory, by the African culinary knowledge these cooks carried in their hands, by the creativity born of having almost nothing and making it into something magnificent. Resilience is not enduring what you cannot change. It is transforming what you were given into something that outlasts the conditions that produced it. That is cornbread. It is not on this table because it was forced on us. It was here because generation after generation of Black cooks took what was handed to them as a limitation and turned it into a tradition. What they gave us as a floor, we made into a foundation. That is resilience.
Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free. No more moaning, no more moaning, no more moaning over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free. They'll be singing, they'll be singing, they'll be singing over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my God and be free.
I don't know why I do this and get so emotional. My goodness gracious. Being Black and queer today. They should just put him up here for Bree. Okay. Bell Hooks, a Black feminist scholar who focused on love and education, said, "Education as the practice of freedom is a way of teaching anyone that learning is liberatory." I want to offer a brief glimpse of how Juneteenth influenced education in the United States and in California. Once Black Americans were officially free, Education was one of the most important values that no one could take away. In March of 1865, the Freedmen's Bureau supported education for formerly enslaved people and began to establish freedmen's schools in various states. Churches and Black communities sustained them. Before, during, and after June 19, 1865, historically Black colleges and universities were founded, and more than 90 after emancipation. These institutions became and remain centers of cultural and spiritual development alongside intellectual pathways to success. So when you hear HBCU, that's what that is, historically Black colleges and universities. Although schools existed for Black children across the North and South, segregation persisted well into the mid-1900s, even after Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954. In 1957, the Little Rock Nine were escorted by federal troops into a white high school. Integration expanded in the 1960s and 70s, and that was supported in part by busing efforts. Yet many schools are still segregated today. Current gerrymandering efforts that limit Black voters in the South right now can also reinforce inequities in education. Restricting access to rigorous and well-resourced schools. And in California, this isn't always the case. Integration and district boundaries and local control advanced earlier for us here, but resources still remain unequal. Wealthier communities built stronger systems, limiting opportunities for Black students. As recently as 2000 to 2004, that's it. Williams versus California. Many of us are products of that. Williams versus California highlighted these inequities, requiring the state to provide basic learning conditions and create accountability systems just for education, just to learn. Today, of the 3.5 million teachers nationally, only 220,000 are Black. In California, just 3.6% of teachers are Black, an overall representation that remains under 10%. Under 10%. This reminds us that the journey towards education equity begun by newly freed people building schools, and it continues. Many who experienced or fought these inequities are still living. The history of educational rights is not distant, and some gains are now being challenged today. Educational rights, integration, resources, safety, inclusion, access are still unfolding. Our students continue to fight for safe, accessible, and equitable schools. As Unitarian Universalists, we must continue to work for Black rights and Black freedom. We celebrate today, and we celebrate today's victories, but we cannot stop. As Maya Angelou reminds us, do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. We need each other, and we must ensure future generations receive the education they deserve. Thank you.
Hello. I have been in the kitchen since yesterday. What you see before you is an obvious fruit, watermelon. We need to tell the truth about this fruit because the truth is an act of reclamation. But first, a question. Have you ever noticed that something red appears at every Juneteenth celebration? Yes. Red drinks, red velvet cake, red beans and rice, and yes, watermelon. That is not a coincidence. its culture. In West African traditions, the color red carries deep meaning. It signals celebration, vitality, and the honoring of those who came before. That tradition crossed the Atlantic in the memory of enslaved people and held on through generations, showing up at every table of significance in Black life. When freed people gathered to celebrate it on June 19th, they made sure something red was present. They always had. And watermelon, with its deep red flesh, was one of the first things they grew for themselves. In the years immediately after emancipation, freed people across the South began cultivating and selling watermelon. It was one of the first crops many formerly enslaved people grew on their own land for their own profit. They sold it in town squares, they carried it to market. It was a visible public act of economic freedom, chosen partly for its color and chosen because it was finally fully theirs. And that is precisely why it was targeted. Within years of emancipation, white supremacist imagery began using watermelon as a weapon, caricaturing Black people eating it as a way to mock the very freedom and economic agency that threatened an unjust order. The fruit that had symbolized Black independence, rooted in African tradition and free people's enterprise, was turned into a slur. That slur persisted for generations. Many of us grew up feeling we could not eat watermelon in public without invoking it. That is what we are undoing today. Reclamation is not pretending the harm did not happen. It is knowing the full history and choosing to walk back through it on your own terms. When we place watermelon on this Juneteenth table, we are saying we know what they did with this fruit, and we know what it meant before they got to it. The color was ours. The seed and the soil and the market table were ours. The tradition was ours from the beginning. This is reclamation, and it tastes exactly like it should.
So you think I'm alone? Being alone's the only way to be. When you step outside, you spend time fighting for your sanity. This is a cold war. Do you know what you're fighting for? This is a cold war. You better know what you're fighting for. If you wanna be free, being underground's the only way to be. 'Cause in this life, you spend time running from depravity. This is a cold war. Do you know what you're fighting for? This is a cold war. You better know what you're fighting for. This is a cold war. Do you know what you're fighting for? This is a cold war. You better know what you're fighting for. When wings of the weak can be embraced to the strong, make all evil stumble as it flies through the world. All the tribes coming, the mighty will crumble. We must brave this life and have
I actually made that one. In the kitchen here, actually. All right. Peach cobbler. We closed this table with the most joyful word of all, abundance. Peaches grew everywhere in the South. Enslaved people picked them, they hauled them, they preserved them, they cooked them into pies and preserves for the table of those who held them in bondage. The fruit of their labor went somewhere else, to someone else, always. And then came June 19th. In the years after emancipation, peach cobbler became a Juneteenth celebration food for a reason almost too simple to say out loud. Because now the sweetness was ours. Not a ration, not a reward, not something permitted, yours. Cooked in your kitchen, on your time, for your family, at your celebration. Abundance is not excess. It is sufficiency freely enjoyed. It is a warm pan of cobbler cooking on the table, the smell of peaches and brown sugar moving through the room, and the knowledge that every person sitting down to eat it belongs to no one but themselves and to each other. Take some, pass it down the row. Freedom is a moment. It is a practice, and right now, the practice looks like this: a table full of our people, a dish full of sweetness that is finally fully ours. That is abundance, and that is Juneteenth.
Ancestors. Freeing yourself was one thing, claiming ownership of that freed self was another. Toni Morrison. Dreaming. Words in bold can, God of broken chains, on this day we remember. We do not know how it felt when the words of freedom came, what release was felt in the bodies of those who made us, what disbelief, what joy, what sorrow. But would you allow some echoes of it to resound in our bodies today? We gather not just to honor freedom wrung, but in protection and continuation of it. Let it resound clearly as we join voices on this day. We pray peace and deep rest for our ancestors, those who labored without agency over their bodies for generations, and those who chose the sea. Holding memory, we proclaim we will not be owned. We marvel at the dreamers, those who clung to an imagination for liberation regained, those who fought, strategized, organized. Holding memory, we proclaim we will not be owned. We thank you for those who became our own historians, who preserve culture in whispers by moonlight, transmitting song and name. Holding memory, we proclaim we will not be owned. We grieved for the brutality of families alienated from one another, the daughter ripped from her mother's breast, sisters torn from brothers, as we honor all the ways our people form new familial bonds, rising to nurture children and impart tenderness on those the oppressors sought to harden. Strengthen our own bonds now, that the invisible thread stretching between each holy Black soul would be fortified by compassion and intergenerational healing. Holding memory, we proclaim we will not be owned. God, we pause for every body broken, bruised, and lynched. There are stories that reside in our bodies, both known and unknown to us. Keep us near our own flesh, that we would protect one another from the brutality of white capitalism. May the rest and care that were denied to our ancestors be found in us today. Holding memory, we proclaim we will not be owned. And this joy in us, this durable, defiant joy, would you shield it from the mouth of despair? Remind us that there is no void that can match the strength of our collective hope. Keep our songs alive, every verse, every dance. May our humor survive as we play and laugh. Show us the many faces of joy, that all those who dare encounter it will find themselves at home. Holding memory, we proclaim, we will not be owned. Now may the same God who spoke to Harriet make the sound of liberation clear as night to us. May the divine hold us in the same holy darkness that protected our ancestors on the journey. And as we remember, may they shield us from despair, knowing that our story is more than pain. Ours is the story of dignity. Let us reclaim it. And may we all say, Ashe.
Everyone, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be a part of this beautiful, beautiful service. It takes a lot to make me cry, I'll tell you that. But I've been over there weeping my eyes out for the past hour or so. This tune, I'd like to invite you all again, as we did in the very beginning, to sing along. If you choose to stand, if you choose not to, sit back, relax, and let's do it. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us move on till victory is won. One more time, everybody. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let us rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Whew, so now you're invited to the cookout. Now that you have learned about 4 foods that are enjoyed in Black communities, please join us after service today. at 11:30, to taste these foods and plenty of other favorites that have been prepared by people in our congregation. And just to quickly share, the term picnic, which has been discussed prior, derives from a French word pique-nique, which means social gathering and sharing food. Although you may see the word picnic often used, some in the Black community have been pushing back on this word a bit. History tells us that when there were lynchings in the South, people would bring food and gather to watch them. The word technically does not come from lynchings themselves, but remembering that picnics were had while spectating them. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So we ask that as you use this word, please remember our ancestors and what occurred while gathering together. We also ask that you try to think of other words to use at times, or teach others about the lynching spectator events while reclaiming this word for a positive learning movement. We will head out at 11:30, and we thank Malila for the postlude, and we look forward to eating with you today. Now we'll have our benediction by Maria.
Now you'll see me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we're together again. Thank you.